64. A formless liberation came on her. Thus spoke the mighty and uplifting voice, and Savitri heard. She bowed her head and mused, plunging her deep regard into herself, in her soul's privacy, in the silent night. Aloof and standing back, detached and calm, all she allowed to rise that chose to stir, calling, compelling naught, forbidding naught, she left all to the process formed in time and the free initiative of nature's will. She saw the powers that stare from the abyss and the wordless light that liberates the soul. But most her gaze pursued the birth of thought. In our unseen, subtle body, thought is born, or there it enters from the cosmic field. A seeing will pondered between the brows. Thoughts, glistening angels, stood behind the brain in flashing armor, folding hands of prayer, and poured heaven's rays into the earthly form. Imaginations flamed up from her breast. Around her navel lotus clustering close, her large sensations of the teeming worlds streamed their dumb movements of the unformed idea, invading the small sensitive flower of the throat. They brought their mute, unuttered resonances to kindle the figures of heavenly speech. Below, desires formed their wordless wish, and longings of physical sweetness and ecstasy translated into the accents of a cry, their grasp on objects and their clasp on souls. Her body's thoughts climbed from her conscious limbs and carried their yearnings to its mystic crown, where nature's murmurs meet the ineffable. A sight opened upon the invisible and sensed the shapes that mortal eyes see not, the sounds that mortal listening cannot hear, the blissful sweetness of the intangible's touch. She saw the life of remote continents, and distance deafened not to voices far. She felt the movements crossing unknown minds. The past's events occurred before her eyes. The great world's thoughts were part of her own thoughts. The feelings dumb forever and unshared, the ideas that never found an utterance. High she attained and stood from nature free, and saw creation's life from far above. Thence upon all she laid her sovereign will, to dedicate it to God's timeless calm. Then all grew tranquil in her being's space. Then this too paused. The body seemed a stone. All now was a wide, mighty vacancy, but still excluded from eternity's hush. For still was far the repose of the Absolute and the ocean silence of infinity. Even now, some thoughts could cross her solitude. These surged not from the depths or from within, cast up from formlessness to seek a form, spoke not the body's need, nor voiced mind's call. Then, looking to know whence the intruders came, she saw a spiritual immensity pervading and encompassing the world space, as ether, our transparent, tangible air, and through it, sailing tranquilly, a thought. Then all grew still. Nothing moved anymore. Immobile, self-wrapped. Immobile, self-wrapped, timeless, solitary, a silent spirit pervaded silent space. In that absolute stillness, bare and formidable, there was glimpsed an all-negating void, supreme, that claimed its mystic nihil sovereign right to cancel nature and deny the soul. A pure perception was the only power that stood behind her action and her sight. If that retired, all objects would be extinct. All else grew unsubstantial, self-annulled. This only everlasting seemed, and true, yet nowhere dwelt. It was outside the hours. This only could justify the labor of sight, but sight could not define for it a form. This only could appease the unsatisfied ear, but hearing listened in vain for a missing sound. This answered not the sense, called not to mind. It met her as the uncaught, inaudible voice that speaks forever from the unknowable. It met her like an omnipresent point, pure of dimensions, unfixed, invisible, the single oneness of its multiplied beat, accentuating its sole eternity. It met her like an omnipresent point, pure of dimensions, unfixed, invisible, the single oneness of its multiplied beat, accentuating its sole eternity. It faced her as some vast naught's immensity. It held, as if a shield before its face, it faced her as some vast naught's immensity. It held, as if a shield before its face, a consciousness that saw without a seer. The truth, where knowledge is not, nor knower, nor known. The love enamored of its own delight, in which the lover is not, nor the beloved, bringing their personal passion into the vast. The force, omnipotent in quietude, the bliss that none can ever hope to taste. It canceled the convincing cheat of self. A truth in nothingness was its mighty clue. If all existence could renounce to be, and being take refuge in non-being's arms, and non-being could strike out its ciphered round, some luster of that reality might appear. A formless liberation came on her. Once sepulchred, alive in brain and flesh, she had risen up from body, mind, and life. She was no more a person in a world. She had escaped into infinity. What once had been herself had disappeared. She was a point in the unknowable. Only some last annulment now remained. Annihilation's vague, indefinable step. A memory of being still was there, and kept her separate from nothingness. She was in that, but still became not that. This shadow of herself, so close to naught, could be again self's point d'appui, to live. Return out of the inconceivable, and be what some mysterious vast might choose. Even as the unknown, even as the unknowable decreed, she might be naught, or new become the all. Or if the omnipotent nihil took a shape, emerge as someone and redeem the world. Even she might learn what the mystic cipher held. This seeming exit or closed end of all could be a blind, tenebrous passage, screened from sight. Her state, the eclipsing shell of a darkened sun on its secret way to the ineffable. Even now, her splendid being might flame back out of the silence and the nullity, a gleaming portion of the all-wonderful, a power of some all-affirming absolute, a shining mirror of the eternal truth, to show to the one in all its manifest face, to the souls of men their deep identity. Or she might wake into God's quietude, beyond the cosmic day and cosmic night, and rest appeased in his white eternity. But this was now unreal or remote or covered in the mystic, fathomless blank. In infinite nothingness was the ultimate sign, or else the real was the unknowable. A lonely absolute negated all. It effaced the ignorant world from its solitude and drowned the soul in its everlasting peace.